the hospitality industry, everything revolves around creating and delivering experiences. And in this process, we need to interact with people and get people to interact with other people. Those people, I call them stakeholders. Stakeholders in our business, our staff, you have suppliers, you have guests, obviously, and then there's a hierarchy where you have your bosses and you have owners of individual hotels. They're all stakeholders and they all have cultural beliefs and cultural backgrounds that form and shape their norms and their values. And since my success as a manager is measured in how well I can get a team to deliver a relevant experience to a guest that's willing to pay for that, I need to understand these cultural backgrounds in order to motivate my staff, in order to satisfy my guests, and in order to keep my bosses happy. Learning the basic local language and adopting some of the local cultural practices is always recommended. Some is easier to do than others. Handing someone a business card with two hands is easy, but eating with chopsticks is perhaps a whole different matter. It shows that you respect the culture, but it also helps you get respect in return and build your credibility with the local population. Now, for example, here in China, there is a complicated protocol about toasting during meals. Whether you're a host, whether you're a guest, or whether you're a guest of honor, there are different rules. So when you go and partake in these types of cultural practices, you better make sure you know how to do it. You do not want to embarrass your host or your guests by offering a toast at the wrong moment. Finally, I want to touch on the Asian concept of face. I loosely translate that as respect. It's very important to people not to lose face in front of others. And I need to be very mindful of this when I conduct my management meetings. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes things are not the way they should be. And I need to be very careful how I present this. So rather than blaming individual people, I revert to describing the situation and blaming the situation. And often that's enough to get the message across. But sometimes the issue is serious enough that I do need to speak to someone personally, or that I need to single someone out. I always do this separately, one-to-one, so they do not lose face in front of their colleagues. Recently, I had an incident concerning face, and face figures in this incident in many different ways. We had a large family that had checked out of the hotel after a 2-night stay, and they had left behind a phone charger. They called the hotel to ask if we had found it. We had found it, so they said, well, we're still in the area, we'll come and pick it up in a few days. So they come to pick it up during a peak business hours for us, where it's very busy with guests checking in. And so they approached the reception and asked to get their phone charger. Unfortunately, they gave us the wrong room number, so it took a while to figure out which phone charger they were talking about, and it all resulted in a delay. Now, these guests felt disrespected. They felt that we were ignoring them, and so they interrupted the receptionist while she was trying to check guests in, to say that, look, help us. And the receptionist said, look, I'm busy with these guests. And so nerves got a bit touchy, and everybody got involved. The parents, the grandparents, everybody did not want to lose face in front of each other. And at some point, an assistant manager stepped in to try and calm the situation. The guests started insulting him and using bad language. He did not accept that, and he used bad language as well. So a shouting match ensued. At this point, I'm being called in. I'm being confronted with the situation. I speak to the receptionist and the assistant manager. The receptionist did not acknowledge doing anything wrong, but the assistant manager said, yes, I should not have used this language. I spoke to the guests. They were furious. They wanted face-to-face personal apologies of both staff members, and they wanted their entire past stay of 6 nights refunded. So obviously, I'm then faced with a choice. I have to come up with a solution, calm the situation, and put this behind us. If you were me, what would you do? So I met with these guests. I explained to them that I'm the general manager, I'm the ultimate responsible. I was apologizing to them on behalf of the hotel, and I was not going to drag out my staff in front of these angry guests to apologize. Secondly, considering the refund, I felt that the guests had stayed, had left the hotel, had had a good stay, and the problem only started when they came back to retrieve their phone charger. So refunding an entire stay seemed unreasonable. But because I did acknowledge that we wasted some of their time today, I was willing to refund 1 night out of their 6 nights. Ultimately, after a long back and forth, the guests accepted it. And this is a bit of the mentality here in China, where people always want to come out as a winner. But for them to be a winner, you have to be a loser. So I always tend to go in with a lowball offer of compensation or an outright refusal. And then during the negotiation, I can give in a little bit and make them feel that they've won. So they left happy, they felt that they won, and I guess the only one who lost face that day was me.